introduce myself. So I'll be quick. So I'll get my screens up and running. Okay, perfect. Welcome everyone. I'm just looking at the list here. Okay, some familiar names. Okay, so my name is Alton. I currently work for IBC as a technical solutions provider or senior technical specialist, where we provide Meteocontrol solutions together with meteorological data or equipment for solar sites. So today my focus will be on Meteocontrol. Some of you would have joined us at the hands-on training in Cape Town at the IBC Service Center, where we went a bit deep into how you switch on our hardwares, how you scan the devices, how you do fault finding, and how you do control philosophies such as generator integration. So some of you would have joined, so this will be somewhat a continuation, but more focused on the VCOM side of things, which is basically our online monitoring platform. So I'll just switch off my camera and then we'll start. I just want to see if everybody can hear me. They should be fine, but I just want to see, so you will not be able to unmute yourself. But if you do have questions, please feel free to drop it on the chat box, and I'll try to answer your questions during the whole training. If not, I'll then reach out to you. So please also just, I think we should have your emails, but do leave your email and then we will be in contact with you. So I'll just switch off my camera and then we'll start with the training. So by a show of hands, I just want to see how many of you have worked with Meteocontrol before. If you can, yeah, maybe just raise your hand, and I just want to see numbers, how many work with Meteocontrol. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think you should be able to see my slides now. So I'll just start with a small introduction, why Meteocontrol is the right solution, especially in South Africa and Africa as a whole. So Meteocontrol is an industry-leading company where they've been there for more than 25 years. And yeah, they've been doing such a great job. They have the expertise. So worldwide, so you do have that to your advantage, why you should choose Meteocontrol. And in terms of quality, I do regard Meteocontrol as the highest of quality in regards to the solution that they provide. And it's technology agnostic, and it's a customizable solution. So especially in the solar industry, depending on from grid compliance to generator integration. So all our solutions are catered to all solar requirements, from monitoring to then control philosophies. And we have a lot of proven track record of success, especially in South Africa. If you do go to our website, there are cases where you'll see big utility scale projects done by Meteocontrol, from monitoring to also SCADA solution and grid compliance. And not just South Africa, but Africa as a whole and worldwide in the European market. Okay, so our focus will be VCOM Cloud. The hardware part of it has been tackled, as I mentioned, at our service center. So if you did miss the next one, we will then dive in to showcase the hardwares and the type of offerings that we have, from PPC cabinets for grid compliance to just monitoring cabinets. So our focus will be VCOM Cloud, which is a powerful tool for managing your PV portfolio, which integrates different types of brands together to bring it into one monitoring platform. This is a good software for your investors, your asset managers, and your operation and maintenance team. So most of you have worked with VCOM. Okay, so I will, just a side note, I will open up one of our VCOM sites and I'll go through it, but just sort of like an introduction. But most of you who have worked with VCOM or haven't worked with VCOM, you will find that our VCOM monitoring platform saves you time and money through optimization and standardized tools such as smart alarms and automated reporting. So most of you have worked with it. You'll find that most of the work is already done for you. Your performance ratio, everything is already calculated for you, and how to monitor if a site is faulty. You'll be able to see that much more faster than you would a generic monitoring platform. You'll benefit from a wealth of experience, which is provided by Meteocontrol in terms of, like, we've done so many big projects in South Africa, especially in utility and large CNI. So we do have the expertise. If you are, as a EPC company, moving that direction, we do have the knowledge. So you can rest assured that we are able to then provide you a solution from retech to your generic City of Cape Town compliance and generator integration. So we'll find, okay, automated fault analysis to save you time in the event of a breakdown and maximize your yield, the yield of your systems. Those who've worked with it, you'll know that this is what we call your heat map, which is quite easy for any ordinary person to have a quick look and check if there's anything faulty from an inverter perspective or string level. And yeah, there's an app, worldwide support in any time zone. Support is growing. We have a lot, and soon there will be some here in South Africa. So that is good news. So yeah. So you have your smart alarms, which I'll tackle just a little bit today. So yeah, it's more of like automated smart alarms based on the configuration that you have for your alarms. And you can then filter some alarms, which we call nuisance alarms, which you do not need. But our smart alarms is basically automated and sent to you to then look into your site as to what is faulty. Okay, so the professional portfolio management is basically the consolidation of all your plants. Let's say you have an Attest, you have a Goodwe or a Huawei system. We are able to consolidate all those different brands. We are brand agnostic, where you can just put everything into one platform to then do your operation and maintenance quickly and efficiently with just one login detail. So you'll see, just running through this is what we sort of discussed at the training. In terms of reliable grid compliance, we have PPC cabinets that are ready for deploy for CNI space. Utility is a bit of a design and engineering that has to take place, but in terms of grid compliance with the City of Cape Town, your CAD A3, your CAD B, we have sort of like standardized our solution. So please feel free to contact IBC or myself, and we will then sit down and then just look at what needs to be done. So we do have cabinets which are ready for deployment. So it's easy to, we're sort of like trying to minimize the risk for you as an EPC company to sort of like then know that this is what I need and this is everything that I need, then services from Meteocontrol to then do the whole commissioning and technical design. We do offer local SCADA solution if you are interested in that. This, in most cases, is found, I would say personally, you'll find that more on your 10 megawatt peak going upwards, where clients do require such solutions, 10 megawatt to utility scale, where you need a SCADA solution on site. So this is something that we can provide. So if you're all interested in finding out more about it, want to know more, if you have a project along those lines, we can then sit down and then do the whole planning and design and commissioning for your project. Okay, so this is features on our SCADA solution: real-time monitoring, real-time control, advanced functionalities such as your active power control, reactive power control, power factor control. Okay, so that I'm going to stop sharing my slides. If there is any questions, I'm just going to have a look before I then dive into opening VCOM. So I'm not sure if you do have any questions. I'm just going to check our chat here. Okay, so far no questions. Please, if you do have any questions, please ask. I do believe Quante is here. He will then assist me in regards to all the questions. So you can feel free to drop your questions there, and yeah, we are happy to assist. Okay, so I'm just gonna give it a few seconds while I open up my VCOM. I think once do you have access to see the chats and also respond? I think you should have Sunday.
Yes, it should.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Just logging in here. Okay. Just need to do this notification and it should be good. And this verification is taking a bit of time. Most of you might be aware that in terms of logging in, we have moved everything to MC Cloud for security reasons. We just want to see here. Okay. Okay, I am in. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Okay, I'm not sure if you can all see my screen. Should be able to. Okay, so first and foremost, when you log into VCOM, this is what it will look like. Very basic. You'll have your. So what happens is with different. Pretty sure most of you have worked with VCOM. You'll see that maybe it's a bit different because then you would have selected different cockpits for your for what you want to see. So, but basically overall generic, this is what your VCOM will look like. Let's say, for instance, now, okay, first and foremost, you want to start up a site. You have all the details. You've commissioned your blue log as we did during our hands-on training. And now you want to then start your own site. You'll see there, okay, you start with a new system. That'll be at your bottom left. You'll see there, okay, you're creating your site. So we're going to call this IBC SOLAR training. So this information is very important, and I will then go through each and everything and to explain why you need to put it in. So you put in your system name, you put in your address. In our case, I'll put in office, you'll put in your postal code, all that information. You'll then search it, and then you'll then pinpoint where your solar site is, and then you click on it. So this will be very crucial for your satellite data information. So all that information, you fill it in, then you go to system type. If it's either creating a virtual system or a physical system. A virtual system is a combination of different physical systems. So this is if you have different VCOM sites on one plot and you want to consolidate all that data. Maybe it's a bit of a complex solution. You can then create a virtual system. So in our case, we're creating a physical system. You put in any information that you need, your carbon emission factor, or you can use country specific value, or you can use your own user defined. You can put all that information inside. Okay, I didn't put in a town, so I will say Cape Town in our case. Okay. Please feel free to drop in any questions. Hunter will be having a look, and he will then maybe probably stop me to say, all right, if there's a question regarding this, then I'll just answer. Or Hunter will then answer on the text. So all that information is now created in terms of the physical aspect of where your site is. Then you'll see, okay, there's my information. My site is now created. However, you'll see that there's the incorrect system configuration. If your system is not configured correctly, this will impact your values negatively in terms of the reliability of the values that we get and the alarms that will pop up. So it's very crucial that the more information you feed into VCOM or give VCOM is the more it will make your life easier, especially as an asset manager or an operation and maintenance manager, to then look at the performance of your site and also act accordingly if there's ever anything wrong with your site. So it's very important that you do put that information. So there is this is the old technical data format in which we used to use. However, from now on, we will start using the technical data beta version. So you'll see now, okay, we'll go to technical data beta version. You'll start to review your settings. We start there. Okay, taking its time. Okay, so first and foremost, there we are. Side photo is missing, so just put that. If you have a photo of the site, you can put that in. If not, that's okay. That will not affect any issues. But if you do have that photo, it would be nice to have it on your VCOM, especially for reporting if you ever want that photo in it. So in our case, I'll just say ignore. In my case, I don't want to put in that information. Responsibilities, this is where you'll then put in the people responsible for your site, from your person monitoring, operator, electrician, owner, and the invoice recipient. So all this information will be there. I have already by default put in some of my colleagues in there. So for instance, I will then put my colleague Jammer there as monitoring operator. I'll then just select and do that. And then just put in all that information, fill it in, and save. If the user does not exist, you just click on create new user. You put in all the emails and information. It'll then just populate all that information, and then you'll be able to then add the person to VCOM, and then you just click on save. Once that is done, you'll see there'll be a tick. So you know that, okay, the responsible people are already there. Now we go to the next section, which is very important. As you can see, the site data in terms of location is already filled in. Now we add in what type of inverter we have. So if you have the training, you will know that, okay, once you're done with the whole commissioning, you then come down and say, okay, what inverter did I have? In our case, we'll work with the Huawei inverter. We say, okay, what type of Huawei? Okay, date of installation, designation of subsystem. You put in all that information. If you have a subsystem and you just want to rename in terms of subsystem, you can put it there. Maybe this is then sub A. You can put that information. The date of installation or startup, you put, is there any shading on the system? Yes or no? Do you have trackers? And then the type of trackers you have. So all that information, just fill it in. In our case, there's no trackers. Let's say just a normal ground mount system with the Huawei 150. So I'll then go look for my Huawei 150. And I will just do that. You'll see that, okay, there's a Huawei 150. MG0. I'll just click on that. If the inverter is not there, only if the inverter is not there. So most of all the inverters are already in there, but if not, you just create an inverter type. But I'm quite positive that all the inverters should be in there. But if not, worst case scenario, you just create an inverter type. So in our case, we just have one Sungro 150 inverter. As you know, the MG 150 MG0 has only 7 inputs. So all of that information is already there for you. So now we then start placing all that data or the as-built information onto VCOM. So what's the tilt of the solar panels? Let's say, for instance, in our case, it's 15 degrees. Orientation, we then say if you want to put the value in degrees, that's fine. Let's say in our case, the orientation is north and it's a ground installation. Number of series connected modules. These are the modules that, I mean, the descriptive definition is in the name. how many panels have you placed in series. So let's say you put in, let's say for argument's sake, the 17. How many have you connected in parallel? Perhaps we have connected 2. Then the module type, I will then work with, maybe I'll say Longi. So I'll work with the Longi, maybe a 610. But let's see, let's just pick whatever we can find, which is a bit higher. Maybe I'll say 610. Okay, then I'll say 610. There you go. Same case also, if the module is not there, you can create the module type, but as I mentioned, the information should already be on VCOM. Then you just click on continue. And then do you want to enter a further subsystem? In our case, we just work on one inverter. No, I do not. But I think I missed something. Let's go back here. You'll see the subsystem that I was creating. Here it is. Just didn't finish filling it in. Okay, so if it's a hybrid PV plus battery, there is that section. If it's battery, there also is that section. But now we're currently working with the PV, so I just want to edit what I started already. As you can see, there's the 150 Huawei. Just want to check the PV array details. As you can see, I only put it on MPPT number 1. Now, if your strings are all the same in MPPT 1 up to 7, all you can do is then say allocate, copy data from MPPT, which MPPT do you want to copy from? MPPT 1. Then you just say copy, and then it's as easy as that. So you don't have to like type everything. So let's say maybe for the first 3, that's the case. Then I just say allocate, copy from MPPT 1 or 2 because they're the same, doesn't matter. Just click on copy. Maybe for instance, a number 4, for whatever reason, nothing is connected. You just leave it as it is, and then you just say not allocated, and then you click on number 5, and then you say copy. I'll just copy number 2, and then maybe perhaps there's a small variation. Maybe this one has 16 panels. You just then click 16. Maybe there's now number of strings, just 1. Then you just click save. And then, okay, so I think we forgot one MPPT tracker. Okay, 7 and 6. So let's say 7, 6 is perhaps the same as number 5, and then I leave number 7 not allocated because nothing's connected. So in our case, number 4 and number 7 are not connected. So all this information you have to put in for calculation reasons. So it's very important that this information is filled in and accurate. Then you'll see there the formula for your nominal power. So we do show you how we get all that information, which is nothing. It's not a secret. This is like the generic formula that everybody uses. Then you'll see then that the total module area is 361 and the power is 62.31 kilowatt peak. I'll just change it a bit just to increase the kilowatt peak. Perhaps I'll just because you have a 150 inverter with 62 kilowatt peak, which is not very practical. So I'll just try to increase it a bit. Okay, 99 kilowatt peak, not so bad. Okay, then I click save, and then that is done. So the PV or your inverter strings, everything is now populated. You'll see subsystems just 1. If I had more than 1 subsystem, then you just click on add and then you add the next subsystem. But this is just basically to show you how to, when you start, you have your VCOM and then you put in all the technical information in it. So that section is done. Then I'll go to system configuration. You'll see that this is still incorrect. Now let's see what the problem is. So the technical data aspect side of things, you can see now there's a tick. Now we look at the data log side of things. No data sources have been found. So this is also important. So you'll click on them. Let's say you had a blue log on site. To allocate the blue log to VCOM, you'll then go to new source of the type. Either you use an ABB API, Blue Log X series, CAFile, Chint API, Full Logic API. We do have more than just the Blue Log where we can push data directly. So you don't necessarily need the hardware, Meteocontrol hardware on site. However, it is an advantage to have it. There are advantages and disadvantages of not having the Blue Log on site. And yeah, which is something probably maybe we can tackle if you have a project, so you can explain all the differences in terms of like the calculation parameters that do pop up if you don't have a Blue Log on site. So this will be then all the devices you can select. So you can scroll down just to have a look. You have your SMA, you have your Solar Edge API. All of that is available. SunSpec, which is basically SMA. Weblog, which is the old Blue Logs, I would say, but what we call the Weblog, which was discontinued. And then now we have Blue Log X series. And hopefully soon there'll be something new coming up this year. So if you're all going to the Intersolar, be on the lookout for that. Okay, so let's say in our case, I decide to select the Blue Log X series. I click add. And then all you need to do to push data would be then to allocate a serial number, to put in a serial number of the Blue Log. Okay, hopefully that does not exist. Then I just click add. Then it'll then start looking for a serial number, see if it's online. And if it's online, you'll then see the status here turn green. So currently I just typed in the generic serial number, should not exist. However, here we are. You see the status says online, and then if it was offline, and if it was online, you'll then see remote access, all the inverters connected, and then you can start working on the system. So I'll show you now. If you go back to system configuration, you'll see now that the data logger now ticked. No other measured value attached to the feed-in meter. So this is something that you can then say, okay, once the Blue Log is successfully scanned onto VCOM, data is pushing, the Blue Log is online, data is pushing to VCOM. What will happen is you'll start seeing here on terms, you'll start seeing all the devices connected. If there was a sensor, you'll see this turn blue, or you'll be able to tick on it. Now it's grayed out, which means that device does not exist. So if there was a grid meter installed, all that information you'll see there. And what happens is once we've populated all that information, you can then start creating your basic graphs and your more complex graphs. For instance, without this information, you're not able to create a self-consumption graph. After that, you'll select whatever device you need, and then you just click save. And then it should then populate onto the graphs, which will be then by default automated on VCOM. And then you'll start seeing, different graphs such as your self-consumption, your energy generation, and etc. Also your irradiance. And this is what we call the term editor. Term editor is basically, because VCOM is more of an open platform, there are cases where, especially that I've seen in molds, where it's not as easy to sort of like create a power flow because of your tying points. What we do is we can take a feed in an import meter sitting perhaps maybe on the other side of the mall, and then maybe a plant is sitting on the far right, the other one is on the far left of the mall, which is where you have two tying points. We are able to create a self-consumption graph and the power flow based on that feed-in meter, which is your main meter, and the two subsystems that are currently, which will be on site. So this terms is where then everything is there. You can edit it and put in your own terms if you wanted to, and create your own based on what your site requires. So it's quite open for you to play around with it. But however, be careful if you do not know, there is training just on terms, just to understand how the calculations work, how to create your own calculations so you can automate a few things for yourself. So I'll just pause there for now. Just want to see if we do have any questions. So let's see, do we have any questions yet? Okay, no questions. Okay, perfect. So I'll just continue. We'll go back to that VCOM training site. Okay, so it still says incorrect system configuration. Because of this, no measured values attached to the feeding meter, so you just need to do that. Fill in that information. Meter management, we're just going to ignore. Just want to see if I can cancel out everything. Standard alarms, because most of the things here will not be able to do because this is just a site without any data pushing through. So you'll see now standard alarms. These are basically your standard alarms. The definition is in the name. It does get a bit more interesting, but you'll be able to activate your total outage alarms, your misproduction alarms, your communication loss alarms, and string alarms if that was available in your radiant sensor alarm. But this is as it is because we do not have any radiant sensor installed. This is just us playing around with creating a site. Data outage alarms, this is something that you can activate, and then you can play around with trigger by actual power less than 1% of nominal power. So it's quite important that you put in all the information on that technical data so that we can be able to then do your calculations. So you'll see triggered by the expected and measured power differ such that the normal severity is exceeded. So this is then if there's a misproduction in terms of the expected energy and what you actually get at that point in time. You can then select the severity of it. If it's below 70%, if it's critical, it's greater or equals to 70%. You can change that to 80%, up to you. In most cases, I think 70% is quite reasonable, but you'll then be able to see all those features that you play around with. You can then click on sunrise to sunset. You can play around with the monitoring threshold, the delay after first occurrence, and then you just click on save. So if you want to become a monitoring pro, Meteocontrol is the way to go. And if you still want to learn more about monitoring, we do have a link where you can go. So if you have VCOM license, you can then log in, says become a monitoring pro. You just click on go to MC Help. You'll then get a detailed documentation on smart alarms. So I'm just going to go back now to the site where we were. Okay, so this seems, looks about right. So now when all of this is done, I mean, this is still incomplete because you're not getting any data. But this is what it will look like. We have that. Okay, let's see, power flow. Okay, we'll not be able to do this with site. So basically, this is how you basically create a site from scratch. Now, once that's complete, I'll just use a generic site that we have here running to showcase to you what happens. Now the site is created, everything is running. This is what your site will look like. Mind you, this is just a generic cockpit that I've just populated for training purposes, but I'll then show you guys how we actually create all of that information up. So here's the site we created, central media. This site, okay, system key, there's that, commissioning date, that information is there. So this is like a generic site. We have an ABB trio and a SunGrow 50 kilowatt Pima solar panels and Canadian solar panels. So you can see that we've integrated two different brands. We're very brand agnostic to do control. So it doesn't matter what brand you have on site. Let's say there's, for argument's sake, what I've seen in South Africa is some inverters do break down and you're not able to find it. Like the ABB trio, ABB is discontinued. It's currently now FEMA, and it's a bit of an issue to find in South Africa. So what does the client do? They go say, okay, I need to find an inverter to add onto the system without having to take everything down. What the client in this case decided to do was then purchase a SunGrow 50 and then buy also a blue log to then be able to then consolidate the plant and use one controller to then control both the different brands to do zero feeding. In this case, maybe it has feedback, I'm not too sure, but basically the purpose was that. So you'll see now that, okay, there's 3 cockpits here. Go to cockpit, which is basically this section. On this section, you see what currently I have is a system profile, current system status, the saving CO2. Today was 51.25 kg, current year was 30.77 tons. So you'll see planted trees, 12,143, today 5, current year 2,117. You can also see the revenue created. So you can see that, okay, today, currently the client has created about 180 Rand of revenue. Yesterday was 615. So you can see current year, this is how much the client, based on the revenue that the client put in, I think this is 250 per kilowatt hour. This is then amounts to this much from yesterday and also current year. So you can see, you can sort of calculate to some degree how much your solar plant has saved you. And yeah, you can play around with on the reporting side of things, but this is something that we'll also maybe perhaps look into. But there is what we call Asset Pilot, which is more of a financial software provided by Meteocontrol, which will probably be then on the next training. Okay, before I actually move on cockpit, I'll just go back to cockpit. So you can add in whatever you need. So you'll see here that there's a portlet center, reset portlet center, a new tab. So you can basically create a new tab that you want. But now I'll just create a new portlet. And then, okay, what do I want to see? You can see there's a lot of features. You can see your system diagram, tickets, which is featured. And then your monitoring is your alarms, your device events, your digital signals, incidents, syslog, tickets, evaluation. So in my case, let's say I decide to then use, just want to see what I'm going to select. Let's say I select power flow. Okay, that's already added. Control status. Let's add that. Then you'll see there it is. I'm just going to push that there. And then I can just move it around. And then I fill up my table. So you'll see here the control status. This is grid source, grid operator. The valid set point is then the percentage in which so this set point, so this set point is then in relation to the meter. So the set point is minus 0.01%, which is basically this percentage is in relation to the technical data that you've actually placed onto your blue log. So when we did the whole commissioning during our hands-on training, you'll know that this percentage, if 0.01% is probably then we're looking at zero feed-in. If it's a negative, you're trying to take from the grid, and the 0.1% is sort of a buffer. In this case, I'm assuming is what the client did, but this is basically zero feed-in at the moment. And the current valid set point is 28.78%. So this is what's going to the inverters to say inverter produce 28.78% in order to not feed back. So if you would see that the current valid set point is 100%, that means we're telling the inverters to produce at 100%. So that's the difference between current valid set point value and current valid control value. Then the grid connection, this will then be how much is at the grid point, but you'll see that between the blue log and VCOM, there's a 5-minute interval. So there's a 5-minute delay in terms of like data push. So if you want to see real live data, it's then preferable advice that they just log into the blue log remotely through VCOM, then you should be able to see real-time values. So see there's my power flow, the yield forecast based on kilowatt hour per kilowatt peak. You'll see your current system. Okay, this is basically a forecast, expected energy simulation. I'll just make this bigger. So with the VCOM license that you purchase at IBC or at Meteocontrol, that depends also on the license, but at IBC, you'll see that we're able to provide you satellite data, and with that satellite data, we're then able to calculate your actual energy, your forecasted energy, and your actual energy. So in this case, I do suspect that the client doesn't really have a radiant sensor, but it's either use a radiant sensor or satellite data. So you'll see here that the actual energy on the 24th was 172 kilowatt hours. The expected energy was actually 221. So for whatever reason that may be, either it's curtailment or yeah, maybe it's a bit maybe the panels need to be cleaned up. Something there on site is sort of like giving that difference, but I do not see it as much of a huge impact. But then we'll get to see how to sort of like easily see look on VCOM how to, instead of calculating yourself, VCOM already calculates it for you. So I'm just going to run through this. We will look at the evaluation and performance ratio so you can see, is it an issue or is it not an issue? So you'll see, okay, there's the actual energy, expected energy, which is a simulation, 24th. However, the 25th, everything was okay. I would say actually the actual energy was higher than the expected energy, which is good. 26th, there, for some reason, there's no data. So this needs a bit of fault finding, going to site, having a look. So you'll see that there's two icons here, which I do not think I mentioned. These icons sort of give you an alarm. If it's green, everything is okay. If it's red and yellow, perhaps there's something that you need to have a look at. You'll see here that it says check communication with system and devices. Last contact is greater than 30 minutes, which is basically on the smart alarms that you set. So there is some comms issues there. Client just needs to go have a look, and our asset manager will then go to site to have a look what is actually happening. Then this gives you that there's a critical alarm on site. So that's basically like some of the ways. So like, I mean, I was just trying to show you in terms of forecast, but looking at the forecast and the actual energy, you get to see, is there an alarm based on what I see? Yes or no? So you can play around with this, delete, add other stuff, but that's just basically the basics of it. Cockpit, this is what it looks like. You can add your own, and yeah. Now I just went to evaluation. Evaluation will then give me the energy generation. This is most of this, like from inverter level point of view, this is everything that you'll see on the OEM's monitoring platform, like Fusion Solar, yeah, if you're a Huawei inverter. But we get a bit more complex in terms of, we give you variance analysis. Actually, before I go there, energy generation, you'll see, okay, this is for the month. This is point of array irradiance using satellite. You can see with actual energy. Then if I say then per day, I get to see, okay, that's per day. But for some reason, I do not see the irradiance. But you can see that something happened on the 26th. Now the irradiance also disappeared. But on the 26th, from the 26th, something is up. I only see energy generation, but not my irradiance. So definitely something to look at on site. So you can see how easy it is to fault find. Just want to see if I can go back. So this is what it would look like. I just want to go back and see if there's something quite unique. Okay, because this is interpolated satellite data, you can see the energy production does go hand in hand with the irradiance. However, you can see that power dropping up and down, either curtailment, but you can see that, or cloudy. If it was cloudy and you had an irradiance sensor on site, you would be able to then distinguish if it was a cloud issue. But in this case, we're using satellite data, but you can see that looking at the satellite data and the power, everything looks to be on track. You can see there, everything looks fine. So this is sort of like a quick way to have a look. But there are quicker ways, especially if you're not very technical, you're on the asset management type side of things, where it's just a matter of looking at data or easy quick fix. There is simplified ways to look at it, which I will then touch. So you'll see here, there's a self-consumption graph. graph for the 26th. As you can see, I'm just going to do that. There's your feed in. The client is feeding in there the morning, and then perhaps then let's see, self-consumption. Okay, the client decides to feed in. Then for some reason there we can get to see, okay, 0 looks like curtailment starts to kick in. So I'm not sure what the client is doing, but I'm pretty sure something is wrong inside, or they're doing some fault finding. But this is sort of guides you to get to see the type of data you'll see. If I was to see something like this, then I know curtailment is taking place, because it's trying to keep the feed in at 0 watts. So you can see that it's quite perfect. Then we go back. The next day, data was missing. Not sure what's happening there on site, but you get to see this is a site running. You get to see the real life data. You get to see the faults. You get to send someone to site to go have a look what's happening. Then, yeah, this is what I normally give to you, perhaps an end client. End clients, you don't want to give them too many numbers. They just want to see. All the client wants to know, investor wants to know is my site producing? Is it working? How's the performance? Is it performing as it should? The heat map is sort of like to guide you, if you're not like a technical person, to guide you to see if your inverters are performing. So a heat map is generally just your normalized kilowatt per kilowatt peak. So you get to see that, okay, early morning, it is red, relatively okay and understandable. As the sun comes up, then you get to see this turn yellow to say that the inverter is then producing at its peak. So I'll just go back maybe a day before. You get to see, okay, inverter number 1, there it is. Production probably is much more quicker than inverter number 2, as you can see, but the reason might be because of the installation aspect. So there's many reasons to it. You can't just speculate. You just have to know how your site is designed, the actual as-built of your site, and then you have a look to say, okay, I can see inverter number 1 actually produces much better than inverter number 2. Then you just go back, look at historical data. You can see that indeed inverter number 1 performs better than inverter number 2 for whatever reason, but there you have it. As you can see, so there you go. Maybe there's shading, you never know. But this is sort of like a quick have a look. Are my inverters producing? Yes. If this whole inverter was red, then you know that inverter number 2 is off. Loss breakdown, you can see, okay, simulated. So this is all analysis that you find within VCOM. There's more simulations that you can actually do, but in this case, this is what the client wanted to see, something basic to integrate different inverters and monitor all of them on one platform. You can see this is a simulation without considering active power curtailment, which is then 263.6 kilowatt hours. Energy expected simulation, which is the same, but however, here we have a loss of 81.22 kilowatt hours. Yield is 182. So you get to see all of this loss breakdown that pops up. If you wanted to do power curtailment breakdown, you would be able to do that. But however, you need to activate it. You need to see, you'll see that there's open simulation configuration. There are different simulations. You can say target range is, you select your percentage. Your method, should the simulation be target PR? Should it be physical simulation or a machine learning simulation? So there are more options for you to actually select in terms of the method that you guys as a company decide. And you'll see here there's a few things that still need to be configured. We notice that the number of inverters 1 does not match the number of assigned inverters 0. So you can make the necessary adjustment in the system settings. So you see VCOM helps you to understand there are some few information missing. You open up that, you just then need to configure the inverters on VCOM with the actual inverters on site. Once that's done, it will then help you to then calculate your do your simulation basically. So that's why I was like, it's very important to put in all the information, configure the site correctly, because the moment you don't configure the site correctly, you then lose out um, on data, you lose out on the value that you get for having VCOM. Okay, let's see. Any questions? I'm just going to take a short break. Just want to see if there's any questions, and then I'll then just continue with our evaluation. Okay, no questions. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'll just continue. Okay, so you saw there, open simulation configuration, configure it based on your needs. VCOM is a very open platform. There's so many ways in which you could do a loss breakdown. We give you that opportunity to decide which one you want. Now we go to performance ratio of the site. So I'll just have a look now. Let's go back. Yeah, let's look at April. So you can see April, the performance ratio. So you can before we go into performance ratio, I'm assuming that everybody knows what performance ratio is, but performance ratio is then the relationship between the actual and the target energy of the whole system. So that's how we then, in terms of percentage, so that's how we then calculate everything. There are other factors involved, but the basics of basics is basically your actual versus your simulated energy. So you'll see there the performance of this site on the first was at 82.28%, which is quite high, which is very good. Then you get to see some days it goes to 73. Either it's curtailment. Curtailment does affect your PR. If you can tell your plant a lot on that day, you lose out on power. So you have to consider that curtailment is a loss or does affect your performance ratio. So you'll see there that it does go up and down. So I'm assuming or banking on curtailment, but anyway, this is just a speculation. You need to know the site that you're actually monitoring and how it operates, or the control philosophy of it. So now there you have it, performance ratio 74. So 55, that was quite bad. In most cases, I expect a site, or from my experience, a site needs to perform around 75, 73 upwards. Then you know that at least your site is being well taken care of and everything is running as it should. But if there's large amounts of curtailment, you can find yourself in these cases where the site is at 53%. So this is something that you don't have to sit down and calculate yourself. If you as a consulting engineer or asset manager or investor, you're able to see all of this first glance without having to sit down and put everything on a calculator. Everything is done for you. Then you'll see that the monthly value is 74.75, which I would say is perfect, because anything around 75 upwards for me is what you should, what I expect to see at a site. That's well taken care of. So there you see monthly value PR, you can be able to see that, and everything looks fine. Then you can put it on 365. You can see, okay, Jan, there's the PR here. I think something happened here. I'm not too sure what happened, but there you go. March, I get the PR. There it is, 82. So the site performed quite well in March. Not April performed, I would say, relatively okayish. 74.75 is still okay. So I'll say still fine. No need to worry. May, we're on 79. So for me, this side is performing okay. But they did perform quite well on March. Performance ratio comparison is basically the same, just a different way of showing it. As you can see, performance ratio, you just see a graph going up and down, but I just want to see if I can do. Then you can see there, okay, there we go. Increases on June, but something definitely happened there and then drops down. So it's very important that you put in the correct data. Not sure what happened there, but just clips goes to more than 100%. Perhaps maybe something was happening on site. I would not be able to tell you. So yeah, this is then your energy performance index, which is basically roughly the same in terms of energy-wise kilowatt hours, system availability, missing data. Okay. 2024, when was this site started? Okay. But if your site is running, everything is running correctly, all of this will be filled up, so you don't have to worry. Then on inverter level, this is basically your energy generated per day by inverter 1 and inverter 2. So this information you can find it from an OEM's levels monitoring platform, but we sort of make it very nice in terms of you can see per inverter, quite easy, straightforward. You can see the sum, you can see everything as it is for 2026 for that month, and also per every 7 days and per day. Your energy normalized inverter PR. Okay, so all this information, inverter AC voltage, all that information is something that you'll find on the inverter. So I'm not going to go through it, but I will touch maybe a little bit on DC inputs. So here you'll see the DC current. So depending on the inverter that you have, you can rename each string on VCOM, rename it as to your as build, then you'll be able to see the current per string. Then as you see there on inverter number 1, or should I say per MPPT tracker. Then you're able to see there, okay, there we go. I can see everything is okay. So your fault finding skills are quite sharpened if you use VCOM. Then if you want, you can use heat map. If you don't want to see numbers on this, you'll be able to see that DC 1.1. There we go. The production of that invert for that string is relatively good. You're happy with it, you go back. So it's quite easy for you to fault find. So you just move over. I'm trying to see if I can find a fault or a pattern. Okay, trying to see if there's any faults I can find. However, there's nothing. Okay. But however, this is basically a heat map, but from inverter strings. Then you'll be able to see it from that level instead of just inverter itself. Active power. This is then your set point. This will be then from the blue log to say active power set point grid is 0.01. Active power set point by yourself is 0.01. So if it was a grid operator, there was a third-party controller, that would probably change. But grid operator 0.01, which is the blue log, and the actual value power set point is then 0.01. Control visualization, just to visualize the whole control. Let's see if we can. Okay, this simulation, this needs to be configured, but I'll just leave it as it is. Let's say, for instance, you're happy with the graphs. However, you say, okay, Alton, I am happy. However, there are some few things that I need. You can create your own user-defined graph. You can go there and say, for instance, I want to create my own user-defined graph based on this. What do we do? Power flow consumption, power flow grid, and sum of active power on the inverters. So you have that freedom with VCOM to do all of that. So now I'm just going to create something. So I create a chart or a heat map. Let's say in my case, I want to create a chart. Then create a chart. What values do you want to see? Perhaps in my case, I want to see active power correction value. Then what? Just trying to see. Active power set point. And like, okay, from my side, from the power plant controller, this is what I want to see. Then from the inverter side, I want to see, for instance, let's see. Actually, energy generated, so you can select whatever you want there. And I'll just leave it as it is. Sensorical calculated power consumption. And then I'll click on add data points. Then you'll see that every term that I selected here is now populated here on my y-axis, and all that information is now sitting there. However, now the component is not selected. So I need to select my component because in our case, there's only one PPC, which is the blue log. Then you just click select. Energy generated, there's 2 inverters. So I might as well just select both of them. If you wanted just the one, you can do that and you can generate it. As you can see, all that information you can put in. So I'm just not going to take too much time here. I'll just put all that information in. And then you can then say minimum, maximum, display. Should it be a line, a column, an area, or a point? And you can actually select your own color. So what I'll do is I'll just say auto. I'll just let VCOM just decide for me. And there we go. So it decided the colors, it decided that it should be a line. Don't have to worry too much about it. Then my graph shows up over there. But my screen will not allow me. Let's see. Where is a search actually make this bigger? Okay, but it's fine. Then I'll click save, title, training VCOM. So there are a lot of people who use this, but for me, I'm just showing you a generic overview of that you do have that freedom on VCOM to actually do that. So there we are. I just created a graph, VCOM training, too much data. So you have to filter and see what you want to see. See what you actually want. So you can filter it by, okay, actually, I don't want to see this is a bit too much. Just want to see energy generation, PV, irradiance, and so you can do that. So as you can see, there's my graph, all done, finished. Also see the values. You can export this if you want to. Easy. There you go. Export, Excel export. Okay, block. And then we'll download for you. So you can do that with all the data that we collect. You can then export it, Excel export, something that I forgot to mention, but that is available. So that's just the evaluation. Quick, straight to the point. And then just click on this. Monitoring, skip this one. Documents, this is where you do your automated reporting. I'm not going to touch too much on before I start with automated reporting. I just want to see if we do have any questions. Contact, do we have any questions? Okay. Okay, so documents, this is the section where you do reporting. Just want to see, can I see by maybe a raise of hands? I just want to see how many people actually use reporting on VCOM, if there's any of you. By a show of hands. Okay, so okay. No one uses automated VCOM for automated reporting. So anyway, there is a link. Everything is there on MC Help. So what you do is, let's say, let's say you want to search for everything. For this reporting, you can just say Meteocontrol reporting. Just want to show you how to find it. Template. Then let's see. Here's MS report template. Nope. Knowledge Hub. Just want to see where is that link. Here you are. Then this will sort of show you the requirements of how to do your reporting. You need to at least download OpenOffice or LibreOffice. It's for you to create your template. So all of that will be there, and then your variables will already be on VCOM. I will show you how to find them. So if you don't have, please do download OpenOffice and LibreOffice, and then we'll show you how to actually do it. So you'll see it is sort of like a generic template. Here it is. If you want to use Meteocontrol's monthly reporting or weekly reporting, you can find it here on the link that I just logged into, and then you just click download, and that becomes your ODT file, which is basically your template, which you'll upload on VCOM. So once that's done, okay, let's do this. So we will then, okay, that is already downloaded. We'll go back to VCOM. So I'm sure you saw where I just found it, which is I just click Meteocontrol reporting template, brought me here. There is my report, which I could use as a template, but you can then change it as you see necessary. So once you're done with creating a template, you'll then upload it here, and then you'll then click on reports. Not reports, but click creating a template, and then you'll upload your file. Let's see, where did I download this? Downloads. There we go. There's a template that I downloaded. Select the name. Maybe. Great template. So I just took a generic template from Meteocontrol. If you want to edit it, you can click on variable overview. You can see the designation. This is basically then the term which you have to paste on to your template. So whatever site, you just then copy and paste it. But then if you use this, it'll then give you the reporting date. If you copy this one here onto a template, so it'll always then look for this data if you put in these terms. So you can see that there's the system data where you can then select the street, postal code, automate all of this onto your reporting by using this over here, which is then your terms. So you'll see measured data, inverter, ticket statistics, all of this, you can put it into your reporting. And if I say go energy generation, you can see, do you want a chart per day, per week, per month, per year, up to you. You can select system data. I think I just touched this now. Just want to see if I can KPI, target PR, all of that you can actually extrapolate onto your reporting data. So it makes it very easy to automate. It's a bit of work in the beginning, but that should be fine. So in my case now, I just uploaded, let's take this off. I just uploaded my ODT file, which always when you're working on Open Library or Open Office, Library and Open Office, you need to make sure that you save it as an ODT. So in my case, let's say my reporting is done. Now I just want to make sure that I send this email to my client or this report to my client every day or to my team. I'll then say click. I just clicked over there, email, sending options, activate this recipient. I will then send it to my colleague here, Jama. Sending interval, do I want to send it to him every year, quarter, month, week, day? I'll say, okay, I want to send it to him every month. When should I send this? On the first day or on the 15th day? Up to you. Then you say format. I want to give this to my colleague Jama as a PDF. Then you click save. Now what happened is the report will always be sent, because you finished with it, will be sent to your recipient who you selected, a recipient of your choice. They will then receive this report every month. So now let's say you also want to download this report just to see, you can just click create report. When do you want this report? Maybe you want it from the 1st up until the 1st of, okay, so there we go, until the end of the month. And you want it as PDF, then you can say create. Then it will busy create that PDF file. Then there's my PDF report, download report. So my report should be, okay. Download blocked. Okay, for some reason it's blocked. Not sure what the problem is. Yeah, probably need to find out. Maybe I have a server problem. Maybe it doesn't allow on my side because of all the firewalls I have. Let's see. Okay, I got this to work. Okay. For some reason, my laptop does not allow me to access the report. But anyway, as you can see there's my PDF. I sort of downloaded it twice. I thought I'll be able to open it the second time. But you can see my PDF is there. Unfortunately, I cannot download it. But that's how basically, on a basic level, how you then do a report. So if you have your own internal reporting template, you can change that into an ODT. And then you come here, you put in all the terms. Like here, then just copy this onto your template. If you want to say, okay, I want to have a reporting date at the far bottom of my report. You then copy this and you put it at the bottom right of your report or template. So this is then you just upload it onto VCOM for each and every different site that you have. Then your report will be the same. So you'll have a standardized reporting format. So that's how you basically do reports in a nutshell. You can save all your data in here. You can save files like the SODs or perhaps your reports themselves and templates. Okay, the rest of you I'm not going to touch. This is basically different levels of monitoring on VCOM, and your investor will basically see something like this. I'm not going to touch on that today. I don't think it's very important. Then I'll just go to smart alarms. I'm just not sure if there's any questions. No questions. Okay. So, okay, so this is basically your alarm tab. You'll see that on your alarm tab, if there were any alarms, you would see them over here. But for now, I just want to see if we can see closed. Okay, there's nothing here. Okay, so if there's an alarm, you'll find it over here, which is basically will be a smart alarm. And it'll tell you the alarm type, the alarm level, affected devices, if it's 2 or 1 device affected by that alarm, and the amount of power that you've lost or affected power. Maybe it's 20 kilowatt hours that you lost because of this alarm or because of this issue. You can get that loss breakdown over there. And the longevity of the alarm, and then also the ticket number that you can create. So this is like the ticket system that you can get. And also there's what we call CMMS, which is then found on the app, which you can then allocate to electricians. Maybe you guys communicate over the phone. You can actually use the Meteocontrol app to then do work orders and then do a report out of those work orders. So now just going to be a quick one. This is, okay, here it is. I want to open manually a ticket. I'll create a ticket. If there was an alarm, I'll link into a smart alarm, but in our case, we don't have anything. Then I'll type in the title of my alarm, the description of my alarm, then also the site, the system, which is basically then central media. So this is the ticket I'm creating for central media. Then I'll click on create ticket. Once that ticket is created, you'll see here it is. Last change, date, resubmission, priority, assignment, technician deployment, service partner, if you do have any. So this information you fill in. But is there an alarm to it? There's no alarm because I never created this ticket out of a smart alarm. I just created for training purposes. There's no yield lost because of it. It's just a generic alarm. You can upload as much information as you need. Maybe you have a burnt breaker. You can upload that information in here, photos, and then just upload for your own benefit. So now there's the information priority. Perhaps maybe this is high priority. So when I create this ticket, whoever assigned will then understand the priority of the ticket. So I'll just say, okay, maybe this is quite urgent. Maybe my electrician then needs to prioritize this person in charge. In my case, I'll then create maybe Alton needs to be in charge of the ticket. Quite urgent. Technician deployment has been initiated. Do you have a service partner? Yes or no? You click on your service partner, then you click on OK. Then fault details, you'll then select the start of the fault, end of fault, the component, what component was affected, Okay, select component, drop down. Okay, yeah. Perhaps it was inverter number 1. Select. Affected power, if you know the affected power, but in most cases it will be calculated for you. Then you'll create that, and then you'll be like, do you want to exclude the affected power out of the PR calculation or system availability calculation? In case maybe it was up maintenance that took place because you switched off everything, you create a ticket, you then say exclude from PR calculation. So this is something that you can do. So you'll then say, okay, it was operation and maintenance, exclude from PR calculation. Or it's a fault, you'd want to include it so that you can actually then follow on with your site as to its performance based on the affected devices, the fault that occurred over its lifespan. Further details, if you need, you can put that in. So this course unknown, you can write. This is something that I placed in some of my by myself, but you can put in, maybe there's a blue log UPS that went off, maybe it's a digital input PPC that wasn't working, maybe there's a grade for a voltage issue or an operating error, over voltage PV module issue. You can put in the course, and then you say report, and then you say detailed. You can put in all that information, summary, all of that, you can put it in. Then when you're done, you just save it. In my case, I'm not going to save it, but this is just for training purposes. Then you can see there that every incident will be recorded. Every alarm will be recorded, and we can actually do a report, and you can then access it over your phone. So if you've never tried it before, do give it a try. It's quite nice to have, as you know, how people use it, and then you can do a report, visualization of all the alarms, how much you lost because of all the alarms that occurred on your plant over 5 years, 10 years, up to you, or maybe a month. So there's so many ways to go about it, and you can create your own new tab here if you wanted to. You rename it for whatever purpose that you want. It's quite a very open platform which you can use to your benefit. I think I've said quite a lot, and I was just summarizing everything as much as possible. So I do hope that this was beneficial. And I do thank you guys for joining, but I'm just not sure if there's any questions. If you do have questions, please feel free. And then we can just attend to your questions. But on my side, I'll say I am done. I'll try to do as much as possible in a short period of time. But if you do have a site from the engineering perspective, monitoring perspective, calculations, more monitoring items that you need, please have a chat with us. And then we'll then try to see if we can sit down with you, set up a meeting, and come up with a solution that will be beneficial to you and your company or your team. But thank you very much for joining. Zane, I'm not sure if you're still there, Manze.
Sorry, you can't hear the noise, but the construction around me. But thank you so much, Alton. I'm gonna just stay on the call for a bit if you want to find the link. But I'm gonna pop the link to the recording, where the recording will be uploaded, in the chat section.
Okay, no
And yes,
questions. We do have 5 minutes left, so I will leave this open for 5 minutes. What I'll do is I'll drop down the email on the chat to contact. This is our technical service email, so someone will then be in contact with you if you do have any questions to sort of answer to them.